Artyom, I'm very happy to have you um, for this Data Sommelier talk show. So first, I will ask you maybe to present you a little bit because you are leading the company Cube, and I've played a little bit with MCP softwares or middleware, and my feeling is that MCP, we are going to explain what is MCP, and the semantic layers both are linked, and we will try to understand why it's important for end users, but why it's also important for you to really understand the concept of MCP and play with this new protocol. So, Artyom, you are welcome here, and very happy to have you right now.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I'm very excited to be here to talk about everything data and MCP. So a bit about myself. My name is Artyom. I'm co-founder and CEO at a company called Cube. Coming from data and software engineering background, I started Cube open source project way back in 2019. Uh, Started with my co-founder. We just put it on GitHub, and then we had a lot of people using the open source project, and then we got excited about it and decided to build a company around it. So we started a company in 2020 with the same name, Cube, and here we are 4 years later. So excited to be here again. We'll talk about agents, MCP, semantic layers, and all how it all comes together.
Yeah, and we will try to understand what is the link with the data and metadata as well, because this is the important part of MCP and how you can combine this protocol, accessing data, but also metadata. And you know everything about the semantic layer. This is your focus in your business, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, semantic layer is our bread and butter. Yeah, so we do it all the day, every day.
Yes. So we can start with this high level big pictures to explain what is MCP. Maybe we can start by this one. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think that could be a good place to start. I would even will take a step back and talk a little bit about like AI agents and MCP, like how we went from the first chat GPT, what it was, 2022, right? To all the way down to where we are, the world of agents and MCP. So I think, when AI first came out, like it's all about like a Gen AI, right? Generative AI. It sort of generates tokens and gives you text when you use it. And that was really, like wow effect, mind blowing when like everyone tried ChatGPT for the first time. We were like, yeah, it actually works, right? Like that AI is like, it kind of can think, it can give us reasonable answers and all of that. But then like the industry and people, we all started to think about, okay, how we can use it to its best, right? Like what is a bigger potential here? So I think one of the major shift was so-called a function calling. So when AI agent can generate some sort of like, think about it like a JSON spec or some specific set of arguments. I want to call that function, and I will pass that argument or these two arguments to that function. And then you take that information and then you kind of call a system. People started to call it like a tools, right? Like you call a tool, essentially it's a piece of code, right? So
Exact.
you call that, you get a response back, and you send that back response to like AI system. So it can get a response back and to think about it and like reply. So the classic example is that you ask like AI system, what is the weather in San Francisco, right? And then it will make a call to the weather API, say like San Francisco, check weather. It will go get result, say like it's 65, it's always 65 Fahrenheit. It's like 16 Celsius, 17 Celsius. It's always the same, but regardless, it got the answer back like it's 65, and then it like it sends back it to the user. So
Yeah.
that's sort of like where like we had a big shift over to AI agents, right? And people started to talk about the React pattern. That's where AI agents can make a multiple tool calls, think about results, maybe based on this result, decide to do another tool call, and kind of, like try to like think about it as a loop, right? Like it makes a tool call, it thinks about it, it makes another tool call, and then it progresses. And also tool call can actually make some changes too, right? Like, so we can say like, oh, send an email, maybe with that weather information, it can send an email. So that was a really big shift in a way how agents started to think and work. But then MCP came. An idea of MCP was, okay, now we have all these agents, which are super, super helpful, especially with tool calling. But the challenge is that we have so many different tools and systems, like as we use as a humans consumers, but also as a business, right? And how do we make sure that agents can talk to all of them? Like how agents can, like discover what tools they have and how they can use them. So we got this idea of MCP, which came from like Anthropic, one of the biggest labs of kind of like AI developers. So they came with the idea of let's call the model context protocol. So essentially MCP is a protocol, right? Like HTTP or other protocols where we can connect different systems. So in this case, they wanted to connect agents and system providers that agents can discover, oh, we have that system, like maybe weather system, and the weather system can have a capability to tell me what weather is in specific city. Only thing I need to do is I need to give the name of the city to that system. So this way, kind of, we created the idea of MCP to create the protocol to discover and use systems for AI agents.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a young protocol. This has been released something like 6 months ago. And I have the feeling that this has been adopted really widely by all software vendors, database vendors, middleware vendors. And we have to understand why. So we will go deeper during this presentation, but I think the benefit is huge using MCP. It's still very new. We don't know
Right.
exactly if what will be the roadmap of that, but I have a good feeling that it's super powerful.
Right, right, exactly. Yeah, I just echo what you said. It's very new. It was released about like late last year, and then it got a lot of hype early this year. I think what happened recently that was a major change and a major improvement. That initially MCP was only local, so you would need to run what they called MCP server on your computer. Now, with introduction of what they call remote MCP, that's essentially where AI agent can discover and connect to system over the internet. Now, what could happen is that every software as a service company, every tool company can release their own MCP tools, MCP servers, and like think about it like Slack, email, calendar, all of the systems can be external, and the agents can connect over internet to all the systems. So that was a big change, and the team has continued to improve it. As you said, on a roadmap, it's a lot of improvement here, but I think going from local to remote was very significant recent improvement.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of MCP servers already ready to be used. And on the data side, I've seen the team working on Apache Iceberg. So we already have an MCP server for Apache Iceberg or very special sources or data sources like that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I have the slide here as an example of different, like how the MCP servers could look like. Not all of these providers, they have an MCP server yet, but I'm sure they will at some point. So when we think about how MCP can be applied to data specifically, is we essentially take a subset of tools, which are data tools, and say like, what if every data tool, every data company would have an MCP server, right? So that what that would mean? So that would mean that our AI agent can now connect to Snowflake to read, like to see what tables it have in Snowflake, to understand, like how to make changes to Snowflake if needed. It can also connect to Tableau, right? And, like create a workbook in Tableau, create a dashboard in Tableau. So things that, and agents can now not only read data from the systems, but also make actions, and they can work in this React loop. You can say, hey, can you analyze me that data and build a Tableau report, right? And then it can go and do multiple queries to Snowflake. Maybe it would, like run into some issue, say, oh, I need to check my ETL job. Then it would go to Fivetran or Airbyte, and just to check the ETL job status, go back to Snowflake, do some work, and then finally come back and to build a Tableau dashboard, right? So
Yeah,
the MCP
exactly.
architecture really enables it.
Yeah, so rather than doing a point-to-point connectivity, you can bundle, you can assemble different MCP servers to create your own collection, and this is very different from what we used to do before, right?
Right.
You don't need to develop a one-to-one or a point-to-point software communication. You can you can get the benefit of each MCP servers and combine them in one service.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a new way to think about building applications, but also maybe architecture.
Right. Yeah. I think, like it's with all the changes and things are changing so fast, and MCP is a new protocol, right? I think we will rethink how we build applications, how we build architectures for sure. One thing also to worth mentioning, I think there are like also interesting development around other protocols that not necessarily competing with MCP, but try to apply the same idea on a different level. There is a idea of agent to agent protocol that came out from Google recently. So this idea is where like MCP is all about agent talking to system, talking to tool. Agent to agent is really all about agents talking to agents, which is an interesting and new even abstraction on top of that. So to your point, things are changing really fast. Like it's a lot of like how people would call it latent space in AI development. So like you uncover as you go.
Okay, good. So I did my own investigation, and I was really seduced by this MCP protocol, and but not only to access data, but also to access metadata. And this is
Right.
maybe a new way of managing metadata. So Cube is well known for having a semantic layer solutions. But
Right.
maybe before starting, I used to work in the past with an ETL tool called DataStage, and
Mhm.
we used to have similar tools already to manage metadata. So we used to call this discipline metadata management. So the question I have when I see this semantic layer, what is the difference between semantic layer and metadata management?
Right. That's a great question. Let me talk about what is semantic layer, the way I usually, describe it to people, and then I will cover what is the difference between metadata and a semantic layer and how they can relate it. When we talk about semantic layer, I usually say we always had a semantic layer and it's always been a part of the data stack. When we used to use like SSS, on-prem, business object as a system, all the way to modern business intelligence tools, we always had a semantic layer in place because that's how analytics works. Let's look at some modern examples, like a Looker, for example. Looker
Mm.
always had a LookML. LookML is essentially a semantic layer. Now, if you look at Power BI, for example, it has DAX, right? Like you can build all your definitions, you can build all your calculations, all your metrics in DAX. So the DAX or LookML, these pieces are semantic layer. So if we take a step back, really, if you look at every BI tool in the market, every BI tool either has or should have a semantic layer because that's just impossible to operate a business intelligence or analytics without a semantic layer.
Yeah.
Because in many cases, you have data in your warehouse, you have like a Kimball or data vault, you have some kind of structured data, but then you need to bring it as a metrics. You need to do time intelligence, you need to do more complicated ratio analysis, like distinct counts and all of these metrics. And that's not possible to do in a warehouse, right? So it's always been done in a business intelligence. So that is piece as a semantic layer.
Okay.
Now, how does it relate to metadata? I think metadata would be a superset and a semantic layer would be a subset of that superset.
Okay.
Metadata, I believe it covers a wide variety of metadata, really data about data. What is the status of ETL job? What is the status of like a field in a database? If it's a raw data or staging data or even a data mart, it can cover information about dashboards. It can cover information about reports, and it also covers information about semantic layer. So I believe that semantic data, semantic model is a piece of a metadata.
Okay, okay. And I think it makes sense when you can manage multiple repositories and multiple tools, right? So the semantic layer is a kind of high level layer covering all the different tools you have in your IT department.
Yeah, it kind of supposed to be, and that's its challenge, is that what in reality happens, if you're a smaller organization, maybe you only use Looker, you're totally fine. You have one Looker instance, you have your LookML in place, everything is working fine, right? But then when we talk about the larger organization, think about it, multinational, like huge organization that has a history of 50, 100 years. They've been around. They have so many different systems. They have so many people, departments, and every department, every branch, every like small team, they have all like a set of different tools. And like when you talk to a chief data officer at a company like that, and you ask what kind of BI tools do you use, they would say, yeah, all of them. And the challenge now that all these BI tools, they have a semantic layer in place, and
Yes.
you kind of like you have this challenge of that your modeling, data modeling is sort of a sprinkled all across all the systems, right? You have a revenue definition in one place, you have active users in other place, then you have again revenue second time defined in a different place, and then so on and so on. So that's sort of like a challenge. It was a historical challenge with a semantic layer, and that's why we kind of built Cube as a universal semantic layer.
Yes. So this is easy to say, not easy to do, right?
Right.
And why? How do you think that MCP can help? Because this is where we think that this new way to connect can be integrated in existing software. So,
Right.
so
Yeah, exactly. You're right. So it's sort of like one of those like easy to say, hard to do, hard to build challenges. So I think, like the fundamental idea is simple, right? Like you don't need to duplicate yourself. You need to make system dry, how software engineers would call it. Do not repeat yourself, right? You need to take the metric definitions out of a BI tool and you put it into one place that is universal and that it connect to all the other systems like Power BI, Tableau, Looker, right? Like so all your BI tools, they stop holding a semantic modeling, they only become a visualization tool. Now the challenge is that how do you build that system and how do you maintain it? Because it
yes,
takes a lot of time. And it also the bigger you have, the more systems you have, the bigger organization is, the more systems you have. And that means you constantly have changes across the board. Something change in one system, something change in other system, like someone is doing analysis on your semantic layer, but that semantic model is not up to date anymore. And that a
exactly.
person who is doing an analysis, they just run into a wall because they cannot do analysis because they need a change in a semantic model. What they would do, they would go into data engineering team and file a Jira ticket to request a change to semantic model. That could
Yes,
take like 2 weeks. By the time it's made, you need another change. So
exactly.
that's a problem. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so we know how to manage that at the data level because we have uh, solutions like chain data capture. Each time we change something at the source level, it's propagated, but not really at the metadata level. We used to work with this data stage solution in the past based on a hub and spoke architecture. So the hub is a central repository, and the spoke are different connectors to collect metadata from different tools. But it was a batch process to collect every day or every week the new metadata. And maybe with MCP, we can change the way we do that. It's not driven from the hub anymore. It's driven from the end user application pushed to the central hub. Maybe something like that.
Right, exactly. And that's what we're exploring with our new product that we're building at Cube. Because as like you said it before, we've been spending a lot of time with semantic layer. Semantic layer is our bread and butter. So we know its pros and cons, right? We know that's great. And like it really gives a strong governance and trust in a system. But it's difficult to build and maintain. It takes time and it slows the organization down, right? So how do we make it more agile, right? How do we fix the velocity problem? And I think AI agents and MCP now, that's the pieces that will help us to solve this puzzle. Because imagine a world where you have a set of AI agents for data engineering, for data analysis, just like a team of AI agents kind of working in your organization. And this all AI agents, they connected to different business systems, whether it's a data system or even a source systems, like a Salesforce or like ETL tools, like Fivetran, transformation tools, warehouse tools, like like a catalog tools, like every piece where you have a metadata, they all connected to, and they can observe the change. They can see, oh, your ETL job changed. That means you need to update a transformation logic, you need to update a semantic modeling, you need to update your dashboard, right? Because that's how the data propagates. They also can monitor the changes in a semantic model and to see the field. Some fields are being used more often rather than others, so we need to optimize them. We might clean up things here, like maybe there is a missing field in place, like that the system needs to create. They also can help people who are working on a data exploration. When you work on a, like a data exploration in tools like a Power BI, LookML, it's very often that you need to change the underlying data model, right? Like write some DAX, write some LookML. But it's also a challenge, especially for a lot of like non-technical people, right? Because systems can be complex. But
Oh yeah.
these AI agents, they can now connect to, like they can write code, they can create the semantic model on the fly to assist people, and they can do it because they have access through MCP now to metadata, so they can understand, oh, you're looking to add this new metric. So to add this new metric, I need to make sure that I have that field in the data mart first. Or if the field in data mart is missing, I probably need to add it in transformation. If it's missing in transformation, I need to update my ETL job to bring it in, right? So it could be all across the systems to understand what is missing to help the analyst to build that final dashboard or report.
Oh yes, and maybe the new data steward will be AI agents, and they
Exactly.
will work 24 hours a day and never stop, 7 days a week.
Yeah, that's sort of like that's a vision we have at Cube. I have That's a vision we're building toward. I don't think it's going to happen overnight, right?
No.
So tomorrow we wake up and we have all the AI agents taking care of pipelines, and we can just chill and drink wine. By the way, it's the best data sommelier, best podcast name ever I've been to. Uh, so, but my point is that it's not going to happen overnight, but it will happen over a few years. Like across next several years, we'll have the system that can proactively maintain and build a data stack and help drive exploration, help drive insights faster than before.
Yes, so we will focus on real business only as a data engineers. Maybe I don't know, something will change about that. Yes. So you plan to release a new product, a new component, or a new solution? Maybe you can a little bit describe what and anticipate what's going to happen.
Yeah, we work in it. It's going to be a part of the bigger Cube Cloud platform. That's what we call it. Our thesis here is that really what I said, that we believe that for every function and role in organization, we'll have AI teammates helping us to do day-to-day tasks. Right? We already see it's happening in software engineering. It's happening in legal, accounting, customer support. I believe that data and analytics is no exception. We'll have AI teammates for data and analytics helping us to do analysis, data exploration, building, maintaining dashboard, pipelines, semantic models, all of that. So that's a product we're building toward to. We want to build a platform where organizations can create agents that can work across the data stack, help build semantic model, help drive insights from a semantic model, help build da- reports, dashboards. So it's less. I know a lot of people talk about text to SQL. I think text to SQL is really just a small piece. Yeah, you obviously need to understand, teach the agent to generate SQL, but
Yes.
it's only first step. The way I think about it, it's like when ChatGPT came out in 2022, it was only just generating tokens, but it was really good. That's text to SQL. Now, fast forward to today, we have MCP, we have agents, all of that. So that's how we think about our platform. It's not only going to generate text to SQL, it's going to make actions, search through entire system, metadata, Snowflake, Fivetran, semantic model, BI, and then making actions to update dashboards, to build reports, and all of that.
Yes. Okay. One more thinking about MCP and the way we plan to use it. It's maybe a way to do real data mesh because MCP will be distributed in different areas of your enterprise, focusing on different data access, and maybe this is an easy way or a pragmatic way to implement data mesh. What do you think about that?
I think so, like I think agents coupled with domain experts, that's sort of like a true data mesh, like one of like I think one of the challenges in an organization is to, you know, the domain knowledge and really understanding, like what analysis, what metrics, what data model needs to be built for specific use case departments. That's why a lot of organization would go with embedded data teams. So they would kind of, like dedicate a person to work within specific team and then kind of go for this data mesh, which is like really organizational structure, right? Like,
Yes.
so you kind of you create your organization and structure in a way that you have the separate units kind of working separately, and then you have a central governance. I think with AI agents and MCP, since everything would be connected through MCP, right? That really can enable a true data mesh and increase it velocity and make it truly agile. But again, I think that's a sort of combination of AI agents, reasoning, people still working, being in a loop, because people would, at the end of the day, people would be in a context owners, domain knowledge owners. Yeah, a lot of dirty work, a lot of like actual work can be done by agents, writing code, validating code, but like be thinking creativity, like understanding, communicating with business, like deciding what needs to be built versus what we don't want to build, that pieces can be handled and should be handled by humans.
Oh yes, very very interesting. So we will keep watching you because you are ready to release something on this topic, and this data mesh, the true data mesh, could be an episode 2. Maybe sooner or later we will interview
Yeah.
you again and do cover this very interesting topic. So Artyom, thank you very much for this conversation. It's already almost 30 minutes, so just right in time. Thank you for that, and
Yeah.
talk to you soon. And let's see how MCP will behave the next few weeks or months. Buzzword or real things? I think I have a good feeling that MCP here is here to stay.
Yeah, it's exciting times, a lot of things are changing, and it's very exciting time to be alive and, to see how AI and MCP, like and other things are coming together. And I really, really enjoyed our chat today. So definitely would love, like to talk data mesh or something else at some point in future. Good chatting.
Thank you, Artyom. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Bye.